You know that incredibly specific feeling at the end of a really long Tuesday? You know, you look at your to-do list and every single box is checked.
Oh, I know that feeling well. It's the best and the worst.
Right, because you fired off the emails, you attended all the sync ups, you optimized the logistics. But then as you turn off your screen, this really quiet, uncomfortable thought kind of creeps in.
Like you didn't actually do anything.
Exactly. You realize you didn't actually build anything today. It's sort of like, well, it's like playing a game of Tetris.
Oh, Tetris. That's a great way to look at it.
Yeah, because you're intensely focused, right? Frantically moving these blocks as they fall faster and faster, clearing lines just to survive. But, I mean, clearing lines in Tetris doesn't actually build a tower.
No, it doesn't.
It just keeps you from losing until you inevitably crash.
That is just the perfect way to describe the modern condition.
Yeah.
We are so obsessed with clearing lines. We expend these massive amounts of cognitive energy, and we generate constant motion. But when we step back, we realize we haven't actually traveled anywhere meaningful at all.
And that is the exact paradox we are untangling in today's deep dive. We are trying to answer a deceptively simple question. What does it actually mean to live a useful life?
It's a huge question.
It really is. So, for context, we've been looking through this fascinating synthesis of AI aggregated philosophy. So we're pulling frameworks from models like Claude, Gemini, and ChatGPT alongside this incredibly sharp essay titled The Utility Trap.
Yeah, that essay is brilliant.
It totally changed how I view my week. And, you know, all these sources kept pointing to the exact same uncomfortable truth, which is that your busy calendar is entirely deceiving you.
Completely deceiving you.
So if you are the kind of person who just loves learning and optimizing your workflow, and let's be honest, trying to maximize your output, you are probably equating efficiency with usefulness. But today, we're going to deconstruct that cultural conditioning.
We have to deconstruct it, honestly, because true usefulness is not a volume metric. It's just not.
Right.
We've taken this word useful, which historically implied, a noble, tangible contribution to the world, and we've completely hijacked it with the machinery of industrial efficiency.
The utility trap. Right?
Exactly. The essay calls this the utility trap.
Mm-hmm.
We have literally reduced the concept of utility to a mere synonym for being busy.
So I really want to look at the mechanics of that trap because I think most of us fall into it without even realizing it.
Oh, absolutely. Every day.
I mean, we all know the basic productivity frameworks, right? We all know the Eisenhower matrix.
The famous 4 squares.
Right. The whole idea of separating what is urgent from what is actually important. We know we're supposed to focus on long-term strategy rather than just putting out daily fires. So why do we consistently fail at it? Like, why is the Tetris game so addictive?
Well, it comes down to biology.
Hmm.
We are literally biologically wired to miscategorize urgent things as important things.
Wait, really? It's a biological thing?
Oh, yeah. Think about it. When an email pings or a deadline suddenly shifts, your brain initiates a micro-stress response. It literally spikes your cortisol.
Oh, wow. So my brain thinks it's a threat.
Exactly. Biologically, your body is yelling at you. Pay attention to this immediately if you want to survive.
That makes so much sense.
Right. And then when you clear that urgent task, you get this quick dopamine hit. It feels like productivity. It feels great.
So we're just chasing dopamine hits from our inbox?
Basically, yes. But the AI research synthesis points out this massive blind spot here. A checklist without underlying values is really just a recipe for empty gestures.
Empty gestures?
Yeah. I mean, if you are just efficiently turning the crank on a machine, but the machine is moving in a direction you haven't intentionally chosen, your efficiency is mathematically counterproductive.
Okay, but let me actually challenge that premise for a second.
Yeah.
Because I know someone listening right now is thinking, look, if I am clearing my inbox, coordinating the supply chain, and keeping the corporate logistics running smoothly, I am keeping the economy moving.
Right, I'm a cog in the machine defense.
Exactly. They're thinking, I am a high-functioning part of a larger system. Isn't that inherently useful to society?
Well, it is functional, but we have to remember that functionality is not the same as utility.
Okay, unpack that for me.
Let's look at the actual mechanism. If you spend 10 hours efficiently optimizing a system that, say, ultimately harms the environment, or effectively sells people a product they really don't need.
Right.
In that case, Your efficiency is actually a net negative for the world. You are just accelerating something hollow.
So it's not about speed, it's about direction.
Exactly. True utility requires defining your core values first.
Mm.
You have to move out of that urgent quadrant in the matrix where cortisol drives your decisions and force yourself to sit in the important but not urgent quadrant.
Which is the hardest place to sit.
It really is. Because there are no alarms going off there. But that is where deep relationships, long-term planning, and actual value alignment live.
I'm kind of struggling with how to apply that, though.
How do you mean?
Well, if a useful life isn't just about efficiently doing the tasks right in front of you, it has to be about choosing the right tasks.
Yeah?
But how do you identify those?
Yeah, that's the big question.
Because if I step away from my daily checklist, the idea of doing the right thing for the world is paralyzingly broad. Like, where do I even start?
It is entirely paralyzing, which is exactly why historian Rutger Bregman's concept of moral ambition is so vital here. It popped up across all our sources.
Moral ambition. Okay, let's unpack this.
So Bregman argues that we shouldn't just aimlessly try to do good based on vibes or, what feels immediately rewarding in the moment.
Right, like volunteering once and feeling good about it.
Right. He says we need to channel our unique specific skills into problems that meet three very rigid criteria. The problem must be sizable, it must be solvable, and it must be neglected.
Sizable, solvable, and neglected.
Exactly. And this ties directly into the mathematical rigor of effective altruism. Have you heard of that movement?
A little bit, yeah. It's about data-driven charity.
Exactly. Effective altruism is the philosophy of using your time, money, and skills where they empirically do the most good. It essentially asks you to remove the emotional warmth from your giving and just look at the cold math.
Which sounds a little intense.
It is. For example, say you have $10,000 to donate. You could give it to your local art museum, which feels great, right?
Yeah, I'd feel like a great patron of the arts.
And it supports your immediate culture. But the math says you could instead give it to the Against Malaria Foundation, where statistically, that exact same amount of money will purchase enough mosquito nets to literally save 2 human lives.
See, that calculation feels intensely uncomfortable.
It really does.
It almost feels cold to tell someone that funding their local theater is objectively less useful than funding mosquito nets on another continent.
It is deeply uncomfortable. But effective altruism argues that our discomfort doesn't actually change the math of human suffering. 2 lives are 2 lives.
Right.
However, Bregman's moral ambition adds a layer to this that makes it, I think, much more deeply personal. He says the sweet spot for utility is the direct intersection between the world's neglected needs and your specific personal strengths.
Oh, okay, so let's apply this to the listener who is doing those corporate logistics we talked about earlier.
Let's do it.
Because if I look at Bregman's framework, finding a problem that is sizable, solvable, and neglected, it kind of makes my daily job at a shipping company feel entirely meaningless.
I can see that.
So, does having moral ambition dictate that I have to quit my corporate job and dedicate my life to a global charity? Because honestly, that feels like a recipe for existential dread for like 99% of the population.
Oh, not at all. Actually, in a lot of cases, quitting your job might be the least useful thing you could do.
Wait, really?
Really. Let's look at the mechanics of your skills. If your unique talent is high-level supply chain logistics, going to a developing nation to physically build houses with a hammer is a terrible misallocation of your utility.
Because I'm not a carpenter.
Exactly. You are a logistics expert. Your moral ambition might involve staying in your corporate job to build wealth and then pledging, say, 20% of your income to those highly effective charities.
Oh, the earn to give model.
Right. Or it might mean pivoting your career slightly to optimize the distribution of life-saving medicine instead of consumer goods. It's about looking at the exact leverage you already possess and pointing it at something neglected.
Okay, that reframes it entirely. You aren't changing who you are or what you are good at. You are literally just changing the target your skills are aimed at.
Exactly. You're taking your natural efficiency and giving it a moral direction.
I love that. But there's a massive contradiction in our source material that we really need to address here.
The Harvard study.
Yes, because we are talking about moral ambition, global supply chains, and mathematically calculating how to save lives across the world, which all sounds so grand and societal.
Right, big picture stuff.
But yet, the data we have points to something entirely different. When you look at the actual metrics of human thriving, the most profound usefulness is often incredibly small and local.
Yes, this is the paradigm shift that balances out the weight of all that global ambition.
It's fascinating.
The sources dive into the Harvard study of adult development, which is literally the longest-running study on adult life in history.
Right. They followed people for, what, 80 years?
Over 8 decades, they tracked their physical health, their mental acuity, their happiness. And the data proves unequivocally that the single strongest predictor of a long, healthy, and happy life isn't professional achievement.
It's not your job title?
No. It isn't how much wealth you accumulated, and it isn't even how many global neglected problems you solved. It is the quality of your social connections.
Which feels like a total paradox to me.
How so?
Well, on one hand, I'm supposed to mathematically optimize my career to solve neglected global crises. But on the other hand, the data says the absolute best thing I can do is just like be a good neighbor.
I know, it sounds conflicting, but it isn't a paradox. It's an ecosystem.
An ecosystem.
Yeah. Utility is fundamentally local because humans are biological regulators for one another. Think about Stephen Covey's 7 Habits, which the AI synthesis brings in here.
Oh, sure. Empathy, proactive agency, all of that.
Exactly. When you make eye contact with a cashier, when you actively listen to your partner without glancing at your phone, when you perform those tiny, unrecorded acts of kindness, you are literally regulating the nervous systems of the people around you. You are creating a psychological safety net.
It's like we think we need a massive megaphone to be useful, when actually whispering support to the person sitting right next to us does more quantifiable good.
Precisely. By being a stable pillar for your inner circle, you are building the resilience that allows the entire community to take on bigger, more ambitious projects. You cannot support the weight of the world if the people inside your own home are crumbling.
Okay, but there's a dark side to this hyper-local empathy too. And I think we need to talk about the friction it creates.
You mean burnout?
Yes, because when you decide to be the psychological pillar for your family, your friends, and your community, while simultaneously trying to execute on your moral ambition, you just become a sponge for everyone else's stress.
Oh yeah, you absorb everything.
How do you prevent that from completely hollowing you out?
That is the exact breaking point for most highly motivated people. Burnout is the ultimate enemy of utility. The sources are incredibly firm on this. A depleted mind and a shattered nervous system offer absolutely nothing to the world.
So you literally can't help anyone if you're empty.
Exactly. If you read all this philosophy and conclude that you just need to do more, care more, and give more, you will inevitably collapse.
Which brings us to how the essay reframes rest. Because, I mean, in our modern hustle culture, rest is marketed as a luxury.
Oh, absolutely. A reward.
Right. It's a spa day or a vacation you ruin only after you've checked off every single box on that Tetris board. But the text treats self-care as a strategic necessity.
Yes.
You don't rest just to feel good. You rest to ensure you have the biological capacity to actually serve.
It's a complete inversion of how we normally view downtime.
Yeah.
If your ultimate goal is to be useful to society, then protecting your cognitive and physical energy isn't selfish. It's a professional obligation.
A professional obligation to take a nap. I like that.
Right. And the sources introduce a really fascinating mechanism to achieve this, which they call the asceticism of attention.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. Because asceticism usually implies living like a monk, right? Giving up all worldly pleasures. How does that apply to our attention?
It means adopting a strict, low-information diet and doing a radical digital declutter. Because we live in an environment that is engineered to strip mine our attention.
Oh, the algorithms are ruthless.
They are. Every time you switch context, say you are playing with your kids on the floor, but you just quickly glance at your phone to check a breaking news alert, your brain dumps a microdose of stress hormones.
Because it's processing the thread of the news.
Exactly. But more importantly, it leaves behind what psychologists call attention residue.
Attention residue, like cognitive exhaust.
That is exactly what it is. A significant percentage of your cognitive capacity is still lingering on that news headline, trying to process the thread, while you are ostensibly looking at your child.
So you're biologically divided.
You are. Attention is a strict zero-sum game. Every single ounce of focus you surrender to the hollow buzz of social media outrage is an ounce of focus you are stealing from your inner circle and your moral ambition.
So you're telling me that taking a nap, aggressively turning off my push notifications, and just ignoring the trending topics online isn't me being ignorant or lazy?
Not at all.
You are saying those actions are actively making me more useful to society.
I am saying they are the prerequisites for utility. It is profound mental hygiene. Joy, rest, and firm boundaries are not the opposites of usefulness. They are the engine that actually drives it.
That makes a lot of sense.
You have to ask yourself, are you aiming for a short-term burst of frantic, highly visible activism that ends in a crash? Or are you architecting a lifetime of steady, reliable impact?
You are architecting a journey, not running on a treadmill, but, because human lives are messy and our careers and relationships are constantly evolving, this balance of rest, community, and ambition isn't something you can just set up once and forget.
Oh no, it's not a set it and forget it kind of thing.
Right. You can't just delete Twitter once and declare yourself permanently useful.
No, it requires really active recalibration. And this is where the sources offer a highly practical tool called the Meaning in Life Audit.
Okay, walk us through the mechanics of that audit. If someone listening wants to actually do this today, what are they measuring?
It is a diagnostic tool where you sit down and ruthlessly evaluate your level of connection across 4 specific domains:
And what are those?
your work, your community, your relationships, and transcendence.
Transcendence.
Being your connection to something larger than yourself. So that could be nature, art, spirituality, whatever that is for you. So you rate each area to find the deficits.
And once you find the deficit, what is the protocol? Do you just think about it really hard?
No, you implement concrete physical shifts. If you rate your community connection as low, the actionable step isn't to sit in your room and intellectualize your loneliness.
Right.
The step is to physically go out and join a local hiking group or a community board. If you realize your work lacks moral ambition, you don't necessarily draft a resignation letter right then. Maybe the immediate action is to actively mentor a younger colleague.
Utilizing your leverage right where you are.
Exactly. The audit forces you to pull abstract philosophy down into a rainy Tuesday afternoon reality.
But, implementing those shifts actually introduces a whole new problem.
What's that?
Well, when you actually try to join that group or mentor that colleague or pivot your career toward a neglected problem, you are going to encounter massive resistance.
No, inevitable resistance.
And I think a huge misconception for anyone trying to optimize their life is the belief that a useful, aligned life is a smooth one.
That it's supposed to be easy.
Yeah. We think if we find our true moral ambition, everything will just click into place and feel effortless.
That is perhaps the most dangerous myth of all. The pursuit of meaning is inherently the pursuit of friction.
Friction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Engaging in these core projects requires trading immediate passive comfort, like, scrolling on the couch for the deeper, messy, often very frustrating satisfaction of overcoming struggle.
So what does this all mean for you listening right now? It means that if you are feeling friction, or if doing the mathematically effective thing feels difficult and unglamorous, it doesn't mean your audit failed.
No.
It doesn't mean you are doing it wrong. It actually means you are finally doing something that matters.
Precisely. You are building grit by reframing that friction as feedback rather than failure. The AI synthesis pulled out a quote from Ralph Waldo Emerson that I think perfectly encapsulates this entire philosophy.
Oh, I love Emerson. What's the quote?
He wrote, "The purpose of life is not to be happy. It is to be useful, to be honorable, to be compassionate, to have it make some difference that you have lived and lived well."
The purpose of life is not to be happy. Man, that feels incredibly countercultural right now.
Definitely.
We are force-fed this narrative every day that a frictionless state of happiness is the baseline of human existence. And if you aren't currently happy, your brain or your life is somehow broken.
But Emerson is making a really critical distinction about targets here. He is arguing that happiness is a terrible primary target.
A terrible target. Why?
Because when you aim directly at happiness, you almost always end up chasing shallow, immediate comforts. You eat the junk food, you buy the luxury item you don't need, you avoid the difficult conversation.
Right, the dopamine hits.
Exactly. But when you aim at being useful, honorable, and compassionate, even when that involves deep struggle and the discomfort of effective altruism, a much more robust, unshakable form of happiness naturally emerges.
It arrives as a byproduct of a well-lived life, not the goal of it.
Exactly. A beautiful byproduct.
That reframes the entire mission, honestly. Let's look back at the ground we've covered today because we've gone deep. We started by escaping the utility trap, right? Recognizing that the biological rush of checking off urgent tasks is just blinding us to our lack of actual impact.
Right, getting off the Tetris board.
Yes. And then we learn how to locate our moral ambition by hunting for problems that are sizable, solvable, and neglected, using the cold math of effective altruism to guide our specific skills.
And then we balance that by confronting the reality that true utility is hyperlocal.
Yes.
We looked at the Harvard data, proving that Our ability to co-regulate our inner circle, just being a good neighbor, is the absolute foundation of human thriving.
Right. And to sustain both that grand global ambition and that deep local empathy, we explored the asceticism of attention. We learned that aggressively resting and protecting our cognitive exhaust isn't selfish.
Not at all.
It is a biological prerequisite for serving others. And finally, we committed to running a meaning in life audit, embracing the necessary friction that comes with aiming for usefulness rather than just shallow happiness.
It really is a profound shift in how you operate day to day.
Yeah.
But, as we wrap up, there is one final lingering thought I want to offer based on these sources.
Oh, please do.
Throughout all these texts, whether we are talking about solving global logistics or just mentoring a coworker, the focus is heavily on the visible legacy we leave.
That things we can measure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We measure the art we produced, the charities we funded, the metrics we improved. But what if the highest measure of your usefulness is entirely invisible?
Wait, invisible. How do you measure an invisible impact?
Well, you can't measure it. And that is kind of the beauty of it. Think about the crises that didn't happen,
Oh, wow.
the relationships that didn't shatter, the silent suffering in a friend or a neighbor that didn't escalate into a tragedy strictly because you were there, quietly holding the line.
Because you had the cognitive bandwidth to be present.
Yes. Your greatest utility to the world might not be the towering monuments you built, but the absolute disasters your steady, compassionate presence prevented.
That is an incredible concept to sit with. That the absolute most useful thing you ever achieve in your entire lifetime might be something no one, not even you, ever fully sees.
Right?
Simply because your regulated presence kept the ground from falling out from under someone else.
It strips the ego completely out of the equation, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It means your quiet daily actions hold immeasurable weight.
It really does. Wow. Well, next time you find yourself frantic, desperately trying to clear the falling blocks in that endless game of Tetris, remember that you have the agency to just put the controller down.
Just put it down.
You can stop chasing the dopamine hit of being busy and start walking purposefully toward the neglected problems and the specific people who actually need your focus. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We highly encourage you to log off, embrace the quiet, and conduct your own meaning in life audit today. See you next time.